Welcome back to another episode of Hot Takes, where not only are we previewing the Premier League weekend ahead, we're talking about some of the biggest talking points across social media and looking at some of the maddest takes, some of the biggest hot takes out there. Normally, I'm joined by Lias for this show, but tonight, very special guest, royalty on the football terrace is here. Have hope. How you doing, mate?
Sorry, man, it's been swell, man. Like, because people always say that, like, Halford, we need you on the terrace. We need you to spread the truth. I'm here to spread our truth. I'm here to spread our truth, man. You know, the streets have been calling for this.
Mate,
man.
they have. They're always calling for you to be on the terrace more. And I don't know about you. I'm just so glad the international break. I mean, terrible international break for you because Nigeria, bro.
I'm still feeling like, I think when it's happened, I was like, okay, it's bad. I think, but once the World Cup draw starts to come out, it'll begin to sing that, oh my God, why should not good? It's like the coolest party in the world, and you have to watch it via Zoom and everything. Like the best music, the sexiest woman and everything, but you have to watch via Zoom and everyone is invited to the party apart from you. So it's horrible. It's horrible.
Nigeria is nearly always there.
The only time we didn't make it after our first one was 2006. Every other one we've made it.
Yeah, in my lifetime, I was about to say, like, I've forgotten about that. That's nearly 20 years ago. Yeah. But I always, Nigeria always part of the African contingent that arrives, and obviously crazy scenes afterwards as well, with that sort of jumping on the pitch and taking flagpoles and goalposts and everything.
No, but even that whole night was crazy because that happened where guys went crazy. But did you see what happened with Cameroon and Algeria?
No. I know that Algeria went out, but I didn't see what happened.
So obviously it was close. So in the 118th minute, Algeria scored and they were going through. And literally, if you go to Algeria, they were putting up fireworks, going crazy. Guys were already celebrating because they scored in the 118th minute. 120, there were 4 minutes added on time, 123rd minute, it can't be scores. And literally, there's like an amazing photo where you have the Algeria manager. He's literally in despair like this, and everyone is just shocked. So just imagine that in Algeria, they scored in the 123rd minutes after they scored in the 180th minute.
Wow.
Horrible.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. Listen, I've been on the end of some defeats like that, and I've also been on sort of the victories of things like that. But I think
99.
That 99 is a great example. Aguero is a different. That wasn't a game my team were playing in, but the same impact. I know that feeling.
No, because 99, I remember because I hated United so much, you know. So because I was my big brother is a massive United fan, and he's a huge Cantona fan, and we always had a rivalry. So because he likes United, I hated United and everything. So I've always hated United, and I remember like that night. You know, by the way, we're winning 1-0. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I'm sorry, my United fans. I'm sorry. You know, it is what it is. Then they equalized, and I was so pissed. So I went up into my room. I was like, please. I was like, what are they celebrating again? I remember that's like punching the wall when United won on. But I say that was crazy. That's because imagine if you're Bayern Munich. And I remember remember Sami Kufo, where he was basically punching the ground and so forth after they equalized. I mean, that was
there's a great story. I had I remember that following Christmas, that would have been the Christmas of 99. My parents bought me the treble. It wasn't even DVD. It was the video VHS.
VHS.
I think DVDs maybe came out a year or so later.
Yeah.
And certainly my family couldn't afford a DVD player straight away. But there was this Man United fan they interviewed, and he had a betting slip. In the summer, he'd put a bet on France to win the World Cup and Man United to win the treble.
Wow.
Just a bet that he put on. I think he got something like 2,000 to 1, and he put like £5 on it. And you got to remember, this is 1999. So what, £10,000 then is maybe worth £15,000-20,000 now. £10,000 a lot of bloody money now. But he had this bet on. So France win the World Cup, United go through that crazy roller coaster season. And in the video, he says that it got to the 90th minute and he screwed his betting slip up and he threw it on the floor. And he said, of course, Sheringham Giggs, the equalizer, went in. And he said he celebrated for like 10 seconds and then went, my slip. He's scrambling around on the floor. And he said it was almost poetic. I found it. I opened it. Yes, it's my betting ticket. And then he heard the crowd cheer again. They'd won the game. So he missed the second goal, but it was like, I got the ticket, and then they scored. We've won the treble. He got his 20K. I got goosebumps even thinking about, like, it's just some stories like that are just so amazing. And yeah, those moments are they're the part of football I love the most. I love winning games 4-5, 6-0. I love it when my team's able to do it. But if I had to pick between battering a team 4-5, 6-0 or winning it in the last minute of a game, give me a last minute winner.
Last minute always,
every single time. It's just a different kind of a feeling. But yeah, I mean, that was obviously international break's done and the Premier League is returning. But before we get onto the games, big protest this weekend or at Chelsea. Chelsea fans, no to Ricketts protest. Like, what's your take on all of this and in terms of the Chelsea fans standing up against Rain Group and so far Chelsea Football Club, who have allowed them onto the shortlist?
You see, there's so many elements to this. I mean, what's the saying? The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. But do I have to suffer for all the sins that my father has done? So it's like the Ricketts senior. He said what he said about Islam, which was crazy and so forth. And they've really tried to sort of stop that from happening. But I think beyond just that is Bruce Buck, because you've compromised the whole process. The whole process is everybody gets given a fair chance. But what Bruce Buck has done is that he's actually tried to have meetings already, which means that he's obviously trying to open a back door for the Ricketts family, which is unfair to the other bidders as well. So it's not promising, but I think it would be so weird because there is so much pushback against the Ricketts if they were to take over. Even if they did take over, you're taking over under such volatile circumstances, and it's like saying words is one thing. Are you really going to invest in the club? Are you really going to back into signings and so forth? Because and see, people say like, I'm not anti-American. I love American. I love Hollywood. My cousins are American. My uncle is American. Like pretty much. So no, I love America, but Americans don't understand football and the essence of football. No, but it's real. Like it's not they don't understand football in terms of offside thing, but in terms of like
you are right. Jess, who's on our show, she was at like she was working for the Premier League at an event in California, LA. And you're right to a degree. You're right in the sense of lots of Americans understand football in terms of the rules, how the game's played, the skill sets, etc. But she said there was not one, not two, but dozens of people walking around, and there would be combinations of a Leicester shirt on with a Wolverhampton Wanderers hat, a Man United shirt with an Arsenal jacket over the top. That element of the game, some Americans just don't get. It is so, for me, it is very, very different from a lot of the franchise style sports in the States.
No, because compare American sports to the sports in Europe and so forth. Whether it's, for me, I'm a huge NBA fan. Like, that's my second favorite sport. But there's no jeopardy in the NBA. Eastern Conference, Western Conference, there's no relegation and so forth. You go into the playoffs, the best young player out of college gets put into the so-called worst team. So they have parity. And I think if you're like a Lakers fan or like you're a Magic fan and so forth, it's like, okay, it's not live and die. It's okay, that's just my team. But what's, I think, Kroenke, FSG, all these guys are realizing that, no, this is very deep for these guys. And I think for them, they find it quite hard to understand how deep it is, because there's a guy called James Dolan who's he's the owner for the New York Knicks, and Knicks fans hate him. But the way they hate him and so forth is not the way in which United fans hate the Glazers or fans hate Kroenke. So Dolan could just sort of be like, okay, because Knicks NBA tickets are so expensive. So the kinds of fans that go are very privileged already, because you're spending thousands upon thousands.
And this is, I mean, we've already seen it start to happen in football. Like, working class people are being priced out of the game already. And I think that's where people don't often realize, sometimes that a friend of mine in Manchester, his great grandfather was somebody that physically helped build Old Trafford, the first Old Trafford. Yeah. It's obviously been rejuvenated since. That has a different connection to it. These clubs were born out of mills and factories and all sorts of types of stories of where they were forged by the local communities, and they mean something. But for me, I believe that, my expression is always, don't try and jerk my rice. I believe it doesn't matter if you're from Manchester, London, Singapore, Sydney, Australia. If you choose to support Man United, you choose to support Chelsea, you choose to support Newcastle, you support it in a way in which that honors the local traditions of that football club to a degree. You don't have to go to the pub before every game and get drunk like some fans do. You don't have to behave in the same way, but I think there's an element of understanding where the club has come from, what's important to that football club, where it was built from, and the sort of morality and integrity that you wish it to have. Now, we all know that at times owners, managers, players behave in a way that is unbecoming to the club. And generally speaking, football fans are, of course, appalled by the behavior, but it's look what you've done to the name of my football club. Why are you dragging my football club through the mud? Because you're a bad person. And I think that's what's key for a lot of Chelsea fans here is with your family's history, the leaked emails and problems, and your history of running your sports clubs, obviously the Cubs badly. We don't want to be dragged through that. We don't want that. We don't want an email coming out in a few months' time that your dad sent or your sisters sent or your brothers sent that makes us and our club get dragged through the turmoil as well. The thing for me is why I support these protests, and I think they're great. It's really to see whether Chelsea are listening to the fans or not, because the fact they're even on the short list should worry Chelsea fans, because every Man United fan worth his salt protest the Glazers taking over. And I moved to Manchester just as that was all going on. And I remember speaking to locals, and I didn't have that local knowledge of Manchester United at that time. I hadn't lived there. But I moved there and talking to local Reds. And a lot of them felt that they will listen to us. They will listen to us because and they didn't. They sold it to the Glazers, and everything kind of it sort of that's happened. You know, we went through a good period, to be fair, when Fergie was still running it. But since 2013, we've really seen the chickens come home to roost. But it's going to be an intriguing one. You know, there was obviously the moral standings of things as well. You know, and fans seem to really care at the moment about the morality of owners and tournaments as well. You've seen, like with the World Cup stuff with Qatar, a lot of people unhappy. That's going on.
Can you look at the whole morality stuff then? Because remember, like, you had the issue with the Saudi Arabian individual who wanted to take over and everything, and now because of Abramovich, anything. Okay, wait. So I think that's anybody that's Saudi Arabian is now somehow evil and linked into everything like that. So for me, it didn't make any sense, because for me, if I would want what City have, which is a guy who has money, who is actually a football fan. The Saudi Arabian, I think it's El Khareji, I believe, he's a fan of Chelsea. And even when he was on success, I was like, man, I just hope that Chelsea do well. These guys, they're not fans. So the issue, basically, Chelsea fans, I was a Chelsea fan before 2003. I remember Dean Winders, Brace, Bradford City away, where guys like Frank Leboeuf and so forth, you know that if Chelsea played Bradford City away, that's a 2-0, 3-0 loss, because all those guys were not ready to play on a cold thing. So, but there are many fans who they grew up with Abramovich. So all they've known is a guy who has a lot of money, who is a huge fan and wants to win trophies. So it's going to be a massive shift for that fan,
especially if you get, and we've seen the rumors that even the likes of Todd Bowley, who seems to be the fan favorite, and also the favorite with the bookie to take over, there still seems to be this view that it's going to be run very FSG style, Glazer style, almost sort of transfer committee style, which hasn't happened before. And I think Chelsea fans have got to prepare themselves, not for it being per se worse, but it is definitely going to look and feel very, very different indeed.
No, it is going to be worse. Like, if you're comparing what it was from Abramovich, like, you have to understand that all these guys are friends. It's the same thing. You see, all these billionaires are all friends. Like, look at the NFL; they're all friends.
Well, there's that great picture. You see that picture where they're all out together. You've got like the Glazers, and one of the Glazers was there in Woodward. You've got Henry, whatever he said. What was the owner's name? John Henry, and a few others all out for dinner. And it's weird seeing the owners of these rival clubs all out eating together.
Because sorry, I'm telling you right now that whether it's Todd Bowley, whether it's Ricketts, they've had a call with the Glazers, FSG, and they've just said, man, these EPL teams down. It's good. So like it's money. So the guys are like, really? Okay, let's rap. Like,
and this is it. This is the thing.
It is great business.
I would say this. Listen, it's going to be. I think Todd Bowley is going to be the person that gets it.
Why?
But I just get a feeling he will be, because I think Chelsea will and Rain Group will see sense and go, do you know what? It's just going to be too tumultuous to pick the Ricketts.
Family, yeah.
However, The one thing I would say is this: you obviously had Paul Cannavale meet the Ricketts, and he hasn't endorsed them, and he's been very clear that he hasn't endorsed them. But what he has said is that, so a week before he met them, he tweeted and basically said, it's a big fat no from me, a big fat anti-racist no from me to the Ricketts family. He meets them, and his message after meeting them was basically, thank you for meeting me. Thank you for talking to me. You've really sort of eased my fears and concerns about you taking over. Now, I think if the supporters trusts and the supporters clubs, who I believe, and I'm only speaking here, I saw one of Matisse's tweets, who's helping to organize this rally, saying that essentially it sounds like he's reached out to a lot of these supporters clubs, and I think his tweet said, but it's been to no avail. So I don't know whether that means they've ignored him. I don't know whether that means they've said, no, we're not going to support it. No, we're not going to protest. But if the supporters clubs and trusts ease their stance and say, we've had conversation with the Ricketts family and we're now more relaxed about them taking over, my mind will change, and I'm going to say it's the Ricketts family. The reason I say that is because why are they pushing so hard for the supporters trusts to get on board with the Ricketts family if they're not thinking about them taking over? Does that make sense? If they're just there to make up numbers, and Todd Bowley and who's the other consortium that's been accepted that everyone's talking about? Sir Martin Broughton. If they were like leading the way and were 100% leading, Ricketts are nowhere near them, what would be the point of trying to get the supporters clubs on trust with the Ricketts? There's no mileage in it. So it's going to be intriguing to see what way that goes.
And I think you can see the desperation of the Ricketts because they're doing so much work to try to get this. So they're trying to get so many certain people on board. So, I mean, if you're to ask me who I think is going to take over, I think it will be the Ricketts.
Ooh.
That I think, like, if there's who not who I think I'd want, but who.
I mean, who you want and what you think is going to happen. I think the Ricketts, they are proper. They are in this, and if you're a betting person and you're trying to make some money, put a bet on it because
because I think the fact that Bruce Buck has met them, so they've already gotten that whole Bruce Buck in, which means that they have like an inline into the reigning group that the other guys don't have. So what they'll just say, look, we'll deal with the onslaught and so forth. It'll pass, and then what they'll do is do a sign of good faith.
I've got a question though for the viewers. I've got like I want to get the moral questions. Chelsea and the Rain Group review the Ricketts and Todd Bowley's bids, business plans, takeover plans. The Ricketts is much better. They feel the Ricketts would be better owners from a running the football club standpoint, but there's the morality issues. But you've got Todd Bowley, no morality issues, but they believe he's going to be really bad at running the club based on the plans, based on who he wants to bring in. Who'd you go for? Good morals, bad owner, better owner, but with bad morals. Like that. We don't need to answer here. I want to know what the viewers think to that question, because that's, if they pick the Ricketts, I'm telling you, that's how it's going to be spun into Chelsea fans. It's like, we know they've got problems in the past with their father's emails and some connections to this and that. But when we looked at the plans, they were the best suited to take us forward. Then it's really going to be an intriguing take to see what people want to do.
But look at how Chelsea fans are reacting to the whole Abramovich thing. Even when people brought evidence that, hey, this guy is linked into Putin and his money is linked into the tanks and artillery used to bomb Ukraine, his name was still being sang. It was still, it's people are anti-Chelsea. They're just trying to take down Chelsea. So I think you have to understand that that's tribal fan. It's also against the world.
No,
they can't. It's tunnel vision for
I get that 100%. Now, to change the mood slightly, just to have a bit of fun, we're going to get into the previews a little bit later. Okay. Viewers, make sure you're smashing like buttons. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace, and check out Have Hope's channel. Is it still called
Have Hope's Football Hut?
It's still called Have Hope's Football Hut. Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, a lot of people change their names. So I've got the first hot take of the show for you. Now, viewers, I want your opinions on this too. I've got to read this all. Okay, this here says,
"Oh Lord,
honestly,
oh God."
The more I think about it, the closest description you can get to a young Bukayo Saka is that of a young Lionel Messi. The tenacity, the intensity, the aggression, that composure under immense pressure, the hard gleaming efficiency, a clear, simple, utterly brutish speed of play. There's an Arsenal fan here that believes that the closest you can get to a young Saka would be a young Lionel Messi.
Do you know that comment is why I think that people aren't doing enough to get drugs off the streets and drugs away from people. Because I think that is clear evidence that people are sniffing glue. That's basically that's evidence that people are sniffing glue. And I think, you see, I know you're excited as an Arsenal fan. You're excited because I love Saka. Like he is one of the most exciting young players out there, and I think what he's doing for Arsenal every week is amazing. There's a difference between a guy who's doing very well in the Premier League compared to a guy who we all knew that, oh, this is the next thing. Like when Messi came, like, oh, this is the guy that's going to follow, that's following Ronaldinho, big Ronaldo, Romario, Maradona, Pele, so for like the ones you saw Messi like, oh, this is the guy. This isn't the best guy in La Liga. This is now going to be the next guy for the world. Nobody's talking about Bukayo Saka as, oh, this is going to be the next guy for the world. He's one of the best young players in the Premier League, probably one of the best performers in the Premier League, but beyond that, no. But for each fan, whenever they get excited and they get hyped, they say crazy stuff like that. You know, and that's just what they do, because anytime they do like, oh my gosh, he's the next, because the
thing is as well, right? I understand if you've got two young players that come through at the same time, I do understand people saying, well, I think a young, like when Rashford came through, I understood it was me. I understand people saying, I think Rashford could, you know, is in around Mbappe's level.
Yeah.
When you've got two young people coming through at the same time, when a great example is when Rooney emerged at the same time as Messi and Ronaldo, it wasn't weird to say, I think Rooney is better than Ronaldo, or I think Rooney would be better than all of them. That was just an opinion on three highly talented players at the same time. Sometimes you get those calls right. Sometimes you get those calls wrong.
Remember, they called him the White Pele, Rooney.
Yeah. And it's just, exactly. I think that was actually started by Everton fans, and it moved on from there. And the crazy thing about Rooney had a great career. He never quite got to the level that everybody expected him to.
He so
Messi
he did not reach, because what great career. See, Rooney is a funny one because he had a very good career. See, great career is. I think great career, I need more international and even more club-wise. But what people said Rooney was as a 16, 17-year-old isn't what he ended up being in his legacy.
For his overall career, no. He faded a little bit earlier than we wanted him to. And I think since watching his documentary, you see why as well. The drinking, the diet, looking after himself. If he was as disciplined physically as Ronaldo, because of his technical ability, he'd still be playing right now. I think he burnt himself out somewhat. But I understand at the time people having those kind of comparisons because he was a highly talented player. And we all get some of those things wrong, and we all get some of those things right. I remember making predictions about how good Van Dijk was going to be. Everyone told me I was a crazy man. He's gone on to be absolutely brilliant. So look, I'm one of these people, when I get a prediction wrong, I put my hands up. The problem I have with this hot take here about Bukayo Saka being comparable to a young Messi is we know what Messi became. So you think about the hype about Leo Messi, as everyone called him back then, the hype of him at the same age as Bukayo Saka, it's not even comparable. It's night and day difference. And Saka is one of the, as you say, one of the best players in England, one of the best players in the Prem, and he's one of the best and most exciting talents in Europe.
Yeah.
But it's the only two players right now in world football that have done anything to justify Messi level hype as a young player is Haaland and Mbappe.
Yeah.
They're the only two, and even for them to even reach Messi or Ronaldo's levels, it still remains to be seen.
No, for me, I wouldn't even put Haaland in that conversation. I don't think it's only been Mbappe. Mbappe is the only young guy who's had hype similar to Messi when he was young, and people will call me crazy. What Mbappe? People attack me for this on Twitter. Mbappe at 19 did more and achieved more than Messi at 19.
No, he did, and this is what I mean. Like, again, everyone's got a different take. I think both of those players are in that conversation, and this is very much what I spoke about with Rashford back then.
Yeah.
So to bring it back to it's always fun to banter it when you get it wrong, but on a context level, it was the base and foundation was there to go to the next level. It's whether a player can actually achieve that. Once upon a time in the Premier League, if you go back and watch, you had Lewis Nani, who was performing at a very consistent level for about 18 months after Ronaldo left. And the question was, and Gareth Bale, that was when Gareth Bale started to break through and become the player he became.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, they're both very good. They're good at dribbling. They both score crackers. They're both starting to score and assist more. But who's going to keep progressing and who's going to flatline? Bale kept on getting better and better and better and better until he went on to win 4 Champions Leagues and was instrumental, probably the most disrespected Real Madrid player in that period for them, really. It was crazy. Where
and also people forget what Bale did for Spurs. Bale was amazing.
It was amazing for Spurs, and he's been one of the best British players of the last 30 years, no doubt. But Lewis Nani flatlined. No one really knows the reasons why. Maybe he tapped out in terms of there weren't another level for him to go. Maybe it was hard work. Maybe it was desire to go break beyond those barriers.
No. Nani reached where Nani just wasn't that next level.
Yeah, he peaked. And exactly. And that's what I think the same thing. I think that's what he did. And I feel that's why when you've got 2 young players, making a prediction about where they're both going to go is fine. But taking a young player now who hasn't hit what Messi was doing at 18, 19.
Yeah.
Hasn't achieved what Messi was doing at 18, 19. Doesn't have the hype that Messi had at 18, 19 outside of his own football club. And then you start talking about it to people that remember what it was like when Messi was that young. It's a crazy comparison. It's a crazy comparison.
But you know what I'd like to know is how old was this guy? Sorry. How old is the guy who made this? Because my thing is that if he was, let's say, in his 20s or so forth when Messi broke, then he's lying. Then he's lying. But if he wasn't around and so forth and everything, then okay.
Then maybe he doesn't remember.
Because like we all know that when we saw Messi do the kind of things he was doing in the Champions League, and because I remember that game he had against Chelsea where I was like, who the heck is this guy?
And this is why, and that's exactly it. Champions League, he was doing it. He was doing it in La Liga. He was doing it against the big boys.
He was on the bench in the 06 World Cup.
Yeah, and I remember him coming on.
Yeah.
And I was at home, a couple of friends were around, my dad was there, and he came on and everybody, and this is before social media existed. The internet existed, of course, it was 2006, but, and I think that's the World Cup was away, 2006. And I remember him coming on off the bench.
Yeah, I think it was something against Serbia.
Yeah, and everybody in my house, I've been hearing about this guy.
Yeah.
That was before there was no social media hype. It was because of newspaper articles and website articles, and everyone in the room, we didn't speak about him before he came on. But then everyone knew who he was, and it was this weird kind of like, wow, look at that hype. Would Bukayo Saka be? Would there be Argentinian or Spanish? And I'm using that as the example because Messi was Argentinian but played in Spain.
Yeah.
Would there be families of Argentinians or Spanish people if Saka was coming off the bench for England at the World Cup? If there's no social media, would they be all, I've been hearing about this kid. He looks great. That's why I don't think the hype, the level is the same. Saying that you think he's got the ability to get to, it's got to be a comparable. So I think that's a mad hot take for me. The second one I wanted to put to you is we all know that Bruno Fernandes has agreed a new deal. He's extending his contract 2027 until his contract now ends.
Yeah.
Now, Dom Hussam has said here, this will be one of the worst decisions United did in a couple of years. So essentially saying in 2 years' time, we're going to look back at this renewal of Bruno's contract, and it's going to be a terrible decision. Now, do you think that's a hot take, or do you think that's a good point?
How many years is the contract?
So he's got 3 years remaining from now, but it's adding 2 more years to it. So it's going to run now till 2027 with a big pay rise.
You see, I don't know why United do this, because my thing is, I ask myself that's why. Like, why do you because that seems like a massive commitment to give your boy Bruno Fernandes a huge pay rise and so many years. I don't know, because my thing is like, this isn't like young Cristiano Ronaldo. This isn't like a Van Nistelrooy or so forth. Bruno Fernandes, apart from that stint he had for United and so forth, let's be real, he's not been that great. Cool, he scored 2 goals against North Macedonia and so forth. But I think, because my thing with Bruno is he has his uses, but he isn't this amazing talent. And I don't think he's not the kind of guy that you can build your team around. And for me, I wouldn't be comfortable in being fully committed in someone like a Bruno Fernandes, because I just don't think he's that good. I just don't think he's that good. And I think the fact that he's dropped off so much, and you can't blame it on Cristiano, you can't blame it on Ragball, you can't blame it on all of these things. You have to take responsibility for who you are as a player. And I think Bruno, because my issue with Bruno is he's does a very particular thing, and is a very particular kind of a player. He's not one of those players who can adapt. So he's the kind of guy where, like, as soon as he has, basically, he treats the ball like hot potato. As soon as he has it, get rid. No. Hold on to it. Think about what you're doing. Move and everything. So, and if you don't have that adaptability or that other game, because, okay, this is a different game, I need another approach to this game, which he doesn't have, because he's a very particular kind of player who plays a very particular kind of a way. That throws you back. So my thing is, okay, what is the thinking behind that contract extension and that Terrace? Why?
And I understand that as a talking point, and I think I would have probably waited. It's not about the manager for me. The new manager isn't the key factor here, and I think it gets overly simplified to the manager talk. I view it from the standpoint of, if we still haven't 100% decided whether it's Poch or Ten Hag, they both play a different style of football. That means the club hasn't decided on how we're going to play football. So wait until you've decided as a club. Now, maybe we have. Maybe we have decided as a club, because there was reports yesterday that Ten Hag's going to be the manager. But I didn't realize it. Someone told me the other day that Ajax were like 9 to 10 points clear. I didn't go and check myself. And then I went and checked. They're only 2 points clear at the top of the league or something. So it would be a terrible time for Ten Hag and Ajax and Man United to announce that he's leaving and joining another club. It could disrupt their title charge. So there are some reports that it's pretty much done and dusted. They're just waiting for the right time to announce it. Now, if that's the case, and Ten Hag has said, I want Bruno, I think I can nurture some of his issues, but then enhance his outputs and the things he's brilliant at, then I've got 100% no issue. If we haven't made that decision yet, then I think we wait until we know the kind of football that we're going to play. Because you are right. Bruno is never going to be this protector of the ball. He is never going to be this intricate, beautiful to watch football player. Now that doesn't bother me, because I'm not that precious about the game. The irony in it is, me and Lee Gunner have this row a lot, where Lee Gunner's like, football is all just about winning. But then all the football players that he rates as like best footballers are the ones that are the most skillful and look the best on the eye, not the ones who win the most, which is ironic. In those two standpoints seem to conflict for me. But if we can bring a manager in that looks at Bruno and says, right, the system that I play means you're fine to be how you are. We'll put you slightly further forward. We want you taking those risks. We want you taking them shots. We want you looking for those difficult to pull off through balls, those crosses that are so hard to pull off, but when they do, they create goals. Because when you actually look at him as a player, for all the times he loses the ball, he still and this is why I don't think he's a bad player. I just think the eye test makes people think he's worse.
No, he's a limited player. He's a limited player.
I don't really mind whether the word's limited, inferior, bad player. Like, I'm not really, like, for me, I think that everybody's word changes, but it's semantics. People just don't think he's that good a footballer. What I find really interesting is 130 goal contributions since the beginning of 2019, the season 2019-20 for club and country. No midfield player comes, I think KDB, as far as I'm aware, and I'm talking top 4 leagues. I'm not talking about someone in the Dutch leagues, someone in the French league, someone in the Portuguese league. I'm talking in the Premier League. 130 goals club and country in that time period. No one comes anywhere near him in relation to that. If you're as bad, as inferior, as limited, you've been playing for an average Man United team with no coaching and been in a fairly poor Portuguese team the majority of that time, to be able to produce that, what excites me is you bring in the right coach, you bring the right balance of players into the squad to maybe cover up efficiency or two of his, which is, by the way, what teams are about. You know, what's Jordan Henderson been doing for Trent Alexander-Arnold all these years, covering a hole that he leaves by attacking. If we create a system that works, there is almost no better attacking midfielder in the world to have than him.
What?
There isn't.
In the world.
There's no, go back to my point again. There is almost no better attacking midfield player in the world if your system covers these deficiencies, because then you've got a guy that's outscoring and outcreating everybody else. As long as if you had 2 midfielders behind him that could hold on to the ball, Bruno's lack of ball retention wouldn't be an issue. And do you know how it wouldn't be an issue? Do you know how I know that? Because KDB, Trent Alexander-Arnold, to give you 2 examples, are the two chief creators for their teams.
Mhm.
They lose the ball per game just as much as Bruno Fernandes does. But because the rest of the team holds possession better, is better on the ball than what Fred and McTominay are, as an example, it doesn't protrude and stand out so much.
No.
And I think sometimes we are fooled by how bad the overall team is, and we use Bruno as a sticking point.
My response to that are the Euros. You look at Portugal, whether it's William Carvalho, Danny Lowe, and I know that there's another guy that they have guys that sits, which is what Half and Santos likes to play. Bruno was given the chances. He was so bad that he had to bring in Renato Sanchez. Renato Sanchez took Bruno's place. Because there was a point where I wanted to solve yourself, not a very good Portuguese team. No, that's an amazing Portuguese team where, Bruno, you have everything around you.
But
that Euros thing, man, I'm still
no, so I disagree. I disagree because whether Bruno played or not, they were just as bad. Now, Renato Sanchez looked good on the ball, but did very little with it. Portugal were poor at the Euros with or without Bruno Fernandes starting games for me.
Don't do that. No,
I think you're capping now. I think you're capping.
No.
I think you're capping.
I think what everybody was saying and the streets was saying was, this is the great Bruno that people have talked about. This is an extremely talented Portuguese side. Very, very talented.
It's talented.
And Bruno just didn't do enough to help affect the game, to help to provide for either Cristiano or Jota.
I don't think enough people did. Like Bernardo Silva, look at his levels. I watched about 4 or 5 Portuguese games in the last year. I watched João Cancelo in all of them. He ain't the same João Cancelo in that team he's at City. Interestingly, with Man United as well, every player has regressed like Bruno has. But look, it's going to be an interesting one to see whether it turns out to be good or bad. Viewers, we want your views on those takes as well.
But do you think it's a good deal though?
Yes, I'm happy with it. I'm a liar. I'm 50-50 with it. It all depends about the matter. So that take about who's gonna be the manager, I do think that's really key. Now, the Premier League returns this weekend. We're going to do some hard stops on what's going to happen this weekend.
Right.
Viewers, we want your score predictions. The first game, Liverpool at home against Watford. What are you saying?
Gentrification. Watford are going to get gentrified completely. I mean, they don't stand a chance. I think Liverpool, because basically it's still about hashtag April 10th, which is my brother and my dad's birthday. So everything is built into that, because that's for me, I believe, could decide the title. So for me, Anfield, Watford, I think even Watford, they know that, look, we are looking at all the battles now. So for them, they're like, look, let's just do all we can, but they're getting completely destroyed there. Liverpool are going to they're going to total them, run them over easy. So 3-0.
I agree. That would be my score prediction. I think 3-0, easy, no problems. They're not very good at all. And Liverpool have got this bit between their teeth. They're hungry. They're on fire.
Yeah.
Mo Salah's going to come back wanting it after going out.
Wait. Did Martian Manhunter from the Justice League, the green guy? Bro, what he looked like? He looked like the Egyptian Martian Manhunter, bro.
I think what I said on my channel is he looked like the Incredible Hulk's baby.
Yeah.
Just bright green. But he's going to come back firing, and they're going to kill it.
Yeah.
Of course, City in the title challenge go away to Burnley, 3 p.m. kickoff.
All Lives Matter FC, man. Wow.
Do you see that as a banana skin, or do you think City are just going to have too much?
I believe City will win, but City have just to be, because it's one of those games where it could be a very awkward game for City. But for me, I view that as like a City will get like a 1-0. But I think Burnley will give them a few scares, but I think City will just about get away with like a 1-0. But City have looked a little shaky.
They have.
Looked a little shaky.
If City don't score in the first half, I'm going for 1-1 draw.
No. Even if they don't score, I still believe that they could get like a very, very late goal.
They might, but I'm going with a draw if they don't score in the first half. If they score in the first half, they'll win and win comfortably.
Actually, who would you rather win? As a United fan, Liverpool or City?
I'd rather City win the league, but I believe Liverpool will do it. And I believe Liverpool, if they beat them on April 10th, they win the league by 5 points.
Oh no! I don't know what's going to happen on April 10th. But if City avoid the defeats, April 10th, they'll win. So if it's a draw or the win, if City avoided defeats, they will win.
They could do. They've got to win this weekend because if Liverpool win and City do drop points, Liverpool go into that game ahead of them,
Yeah.
which makes it a very, very different.
And also psychologically, remember they played before City, so psychologically, City will play that game knowing that they're not behind Liverpool
and they have to win. Chelsea play at 3 against Brentford.
Mm-hmm.
Not really much happening in I feel like your Premier League games now should just be used as prep for the FA Cup and the Champions League. But
yeah.
What do you expect to happen?
Look, mathematically, Chelsea could still say something. Okay, I'm going to say mathematically, Chelsea are still...
Get out of here.
Mathematically, they're still in the start to race.
Get out. Get out.
They're still in the start to race. Get down. I mean, look, no, you're right. The big one is Real Madrid. That's the big one on during midweek. And I think Chelsea should just go ahead. Should be a standard, nice 2-1 win. Just secure top 4. Make that happen. I would say 2-1 win. 2-1
win. That's good. I think it's pretty good. I'm going to go 2-0 Chelsea. I think they'll get that done nice and easy.
Havertz gets on the score sheets.
Very much good. 5:30 kickoff. A really important game for Manchester United against Leicester. Ndidi out for the rest of the season. Read today. So another advantage to Man United. United, quite a few players rested. No game for 3 weeks. But they have to win because the top 4 race for me, it is over as it stands right now. But they drop any more points, it's even further away.
Terry, no, it's not.
It's over.
It's not, man. It's Terry.
It is. It's
Terry,
not about maths. It's about facts.
Yeah,
and I tell you what I mean about facts. We don't win. We haven't won enough games on the bounce all season to do it. The only way we do it is if we were to win our next 4 or 5 games on the bounce, then my mind might change. I can't see it.
Okay. So you believe that even if Arsenal drop points, United will continue to drop?
Yeah, we'll drop points as well. Like I think we'd have to win the next 5 games on the bounce for us to stand a chance of doing it. And hoping that time those teams drop points as well.
I mean, focusing on the game though. So United are at home at the crib.
Yes.
I think United will win because I don't trust Leicester City. It's been so haphazard. Indeed, it is a huge loss. So I think United, despite the issues, I think they'll get it done. And it could be like I think it's going to be like 3-2. There'll be goals. It'll be fully open. It will suit United, but I think United will outscore
Ronaldo hat trick.
Brace.
It's open. That's a great game for Ronaldo. That's what you need. I think United will win this game, actually. I think they will.
So, no. I mean, but the reason why I think United will get up is that I just don't trust Arsenal. I don't trust these guys. I just think these guys will flop.
What do you think will happen in the Palace game Monday then? Because they're away to Palace. Palace were the team that, I mean, that
Palace
was the game.
Should have won that game.
They did. They should have done it. Lacazette, last minute equalizer. Yeah. Seems like a massive turning point for Arsenal when you look back now with hindsight. But how do you think they'll do at Selhurst Park Monday night?
I could say it's 1 Palace, man. I could say it's 1 Palace. I could. No. But look, Arsenal have been going well. Just that for me, I just think that Arsenal could have hit a brick wall and things could just start being. Because my issue is that I think Arsenal will drop points. They're not going to win all their games. But the reason why I'm up and down is I don't trust United. Like, you're right, though. If United drop any more points, forget it. Like, if let's say, if they don't win against Leicester, then because the games are running out now.
I think it's a really big weekend for Arsenal if Man United win.
Yeah.
And we'll get into Tottenham in a minute. But if Tottenham and Man United win, it becomes a highly pressured game because Palace away it can be a very difficult place to go.
It's a tricky place.
It's a raucous atmosphere, especially at night, and the Selhurst, it's a derby. The got their little mini Dortmund wall thing they have, like those little ultras at the back.
Yeah,
they'll make it hard, and Palace play good football. And when you've got players like Gallagher, when you've got players like Zaha in your team, if he's fit, I'm not too sure if he is. I haven't checked any of these things right now. They can be dangerous for you, but equally, I just have this feeling with Arsenal that they're past that now. I see Arsenal winning. I see Arsenal conceding opportunities and chances, but I see them winning the game 2-0. I really do.
Against Palace.
Against Palace. I see them winning that 2-0. That's my prediction. I think they'll do it. Spurs Newcastle. Final top 6 preview. What were we saying in that game? because they've been in decent form, Newcastle. They've had a little slip up
It was a bit
for the
of
internationals, but they've done well. Spurs.
Tottenham are a weird one because they can either look great with Harry Kane scoring, or they'll win a game. It's like, it makes no sense how you lost that game. which is why Conte went into quits. Like, wait, how do we beat Man City and then lose to freaking Burnley? That makes zero sense. 2-2. 2-2. Yeah.
2-2. I mean, I think it's
because I said, okay, Tottenham win, but like, I just don't trust Tottenham. Tottenham are the most difficult side to predict for.
I think what's difficult now for Newcastle and what their fans might need to prepare themselves for is they're pretty much safe. Maybe 1, maybe 2 more wins. But Newcastle are safe.
I
think mathematically no, but I think in reality yes. And if they start feeling safe, but in games against teams like Spurs that are fighting for something, I think they'll lose. Where if that makes sense. And I think it's always one of those weird times of the season where you're the amount of games you win and lose isn't always representative of how good or bad your team is. It's sometimes about fight. Yeah. You get to that later end of the season with those middle clump of teams from like 8th and 9th down to like 13th, 14th. Seem to lose a lot and not win as many because the teams at the bottom are fighting, the teams at the top are fighting, and there's some of these players start thinking they're on the beach. All that being said, I'm gonna say Tottenham to win. I'm gonna go with Tottenham 2-1. Oh. Harry Kane, since Conte's been at Tottenham, no striker in the Premier. You look at all the metrics: goals scored, shots on target, chances created, assists, etc. Harry Kane, 1-1-1-1-1-1. And he's someone that's obviously proven you wrong. So you drew me out earlier on Rashford.
Just needs to score in the final.
We've had this conversation in this room before. You once upon a time said until he scores a goal in a major semi-final or final, you won't rate him.
No response to that.
He scored in a semi-final.
But did he miss the penalty?
But he didn't. He assisted.
He did the rebound, but he missed the penalty.
But did he score?
But he missed the penalty.
But he scored, right?
But he missed the penalty initially. But it was a rebound. But he missed the penalty initially.
He missed the penalty 100%. But did he score in a semi-final?
Allegedly.
Did he score the winning goal to knock Germany out of a major tournament?
Wait. What was the it was 2-0.
He made it 2-0.
Oh, give me a break. No.
The winning goal.
The winning goal is either 2-1, 3-2, 1-0.
No, that's not what a winning goal is. That goal took Germany. Listen, Raheem Sterling's our player of the tournament. That second goal in that game is what kills off the Germans.
Was it the winning goal?
Yes, that's what the winning goal is.
No, but see,
that's what the winning goal is.
2-0, there's no winning goal. 3-1, there's no winning goal. The only winning goal is 1-0 to 1.
When you go to 3-0, it isn't. But when you're 1-0 up,
it's 1-0.
Yes, and one.
How do we know Germany would have scored if Kane didn't score?
But one goal makes the game a draw. You get your second, and they get a goal back. You still winners. It's the winner. My take, anyway. Go on, Kaney. But listen, that's our predictions for the weekend, viewers. We want yours. And any tweets you see, any clips that you come across where it's a real big hot take, you're like, wow, somebody believes that. Send them in to us. Send us the links. Let us know. We're doing this once a week in our preview show.
Twitter is a cesspool of.
Twitter is amazing. Basically, there are Twitter people that are basically have opinions like yours, H. Like,
no. Don't put me with these psychopaths, man. It's worse.
Psychopaths.
Those guys are psycho. No, those guys on Twitter. Like, I've got to meet a lot of guys on Twitter because those guys are psychos. The takes make no sense.
I hear you on that. Viewers, listen, all of you that have tuned in, thank you. Smash the like and the share buttons. Subscribe. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless.
Peace.
And we'll see you soon. Take care.
Peace.